Hello and welcome back to the Solo Role Players podcast. Today on the show, I have the opportunity to sit down with officially the oldest friend of the show. At 96 years of age, a man who constantly insists that he is alone, yet every time I see him, he is not in fact alone. Welcome to the show, Man Alone.
What? What? Say it in my good ear. Hello. Thank you again for having me on the show. And yes, I am the oldest. I prefer the original.
The original. That's a way better way of putting it. The original friend of the show.
Yeah.
Will I cut that in?
Well, the whole show will just replace with a better AI version once we're done, right? And so that I'm sure will get edited out naturally.
Exactly. Then we can go off and die and our shows will continue on in perpetuity.
No, we won't just die. We'll be donating our essence.
Exactly. Now, I have told you nothing about what I want to talk about with you today, which is exciting. And the reason that is this isn't an interview at all. In fact, this is me launching a new type of show format, which is just a topical discussion. And since you are an official card-carrying Free League fanboy, and I am an official card-carrying Free League fanboy, I've been dying to talk to someone about Free League, and who better than you?
I got excited because I thought you were about to be like, this is a prize show. That's like the guest just gets prizes.
Yeah.
So I thought you were about to say like, take a look outside your window. You will see an official Free League new car.
You get a car. Look under your seat.
I love it. I think this is great. I think it's a great format. I think it's a great topic too. I am a Free League fan.
How did you first come across Free League?
That's a good question. So, Free League, I think, is the second for a lot of people. I think it's the second. It's the official sign that you have like now penetrated into the hobby beyond the surface, right? Because it is possible to, especially in the US, it's possible to only know about D&D, maybe Pathfinder, because those games are available at like big box stores like Target.
Yeah.
And so I think once you go like just like a little bit deeper, which is enough to get you so that that's over, you're in now, I think you'll start like widening your view a little bit. And because Free League has the properties that it has, I think it's very often that it's the second level because it's like Alien, Blade Runner, right?
Mm-hmm.
Walking Dead. They're now sorry. Do you hear that? You got to hear that. They're using the jackhammer on the ground. This is almost like a prank show for
Jackhammer Day.
It's literally a jackhammer.
I tell you what, though, I actually can't hear it because these mics are so great for that.
All right, well then, okay, I'll just have to assume you can't hear it. It's literally someone. There was a street cleaning vehicle that just went by. There is someone leaf blowing, and there's a jackhammer. So I don't know if this is the best advertisement for sure I've ever seen, but yeah. So for me though, it actually was accidental because I was trying to get my now fiance into the hobby, although she was already sort of watched Critical Role and different stuff online that
she was aware.
She was aware of it. It wasn't like but I was like, hey, well, I was looking for a game that maybe just looked really nice and was really pretty and had a good like flip through capability. And I got her Vaesen.
Oh yeah.
This is really bad. This was a really bad choice, not because Vaesen's bad. Vaesen is incredible, and she was very grateful. It was like it's a beautiful book, but she is a massive Lord of the Rings fan, like 10 times bigger than me. And the probably the most valuable property that Free League has, the One Ring of Lord of the Rings, I did not get. And I was like, that checks off all the boxes that Vaesen checks off in terms of aesthetics and quality of book. But, you know, hindsight's that's not even hindsight's 2020. It should have been my sight at that time should have been 2020.
Yeah. Yeah, well, for me, it was, I think it was Dragonbane for
Oh yeah.
me. And I think it came up, I'm not sure if it was on YouTube. I mean, in fact, Dragonbane was the reason I found your channel when you started doing some early Dragonbane playthrough. And I just discovered it. And I think I discovered it in the context of someone mentioning on Reddit that it had solo rules
Hmm.
available. And it was sort of at the time I didn't even really realize any real RPGs had solo rules with them. I had discovered Mythic at that point and I had started the Fallout playthrough, but I didn't know, like I thought it was always an additional thing. I didn't realize there
Right.
was stuff where it wasn't purely for solo, but a real RPG that just had some solo rules. And then when I saw that art, and I believe it's the same artist as in Invasion, right? Or it looks like it.
It might be. Is it? Yeah. Either way, while I look at this, yeah, the map here, the map just fell
Mm,
out of here, and it was just
yeah,
like
it is
it's
gorgeous.
just
It's my
like
favorite map.
incredible. Yeah, for sure. You know what's weird is I had a Dragonbane rekindling moment the other day
Mm,
because my friendly local game store has this like uh bucket of reject dice thing where it's like, hey, any dice in here are $1. And on top, I was like, that looks like one of the, the Dragonbane dice, which is you have to have a pretty big problem to be able to see that because the Dragonbane dice is not like Forbidden Lands with like an intricate. It's
yeah,
just green, I think,
yeah.
and but it was just very crystalline. And then I
Yeah,
picked it up and I was like, oh my gosh, they've got the whole set in here, which is like a $20 set. And so I'm
for a
just
buck each.
digging, looking for all of these. And it was closed and it was like near closing. And they were like, hey, Malone, it's about time. And I was like, oh, yeah, I'll be there in a second. And then it was just like,
Throwing dice on the floor and sifting through.
yeah, I was still digging because there's like got to be 10,000 in there. But I mean, it's just very clear. And then it was more like, hey, so we're closing. And I'm like, yeah, cool, for sure. Good luck. I was so dedicated, but I found the whole set, $5.
Awesome. That is really cool.
Yeah.
I have an intelligence test question for you
Yeah.
that I failed. Did you immediately realize that on the D20, like there's the picture of a dragon and a demon?
Yeah.
And I initially thought, yeah, that's cool because I do like a little bit of custom in my dice. But I can't really tell which one is which. They both look, I'm not sure
Oh.
which one the dragon or the demon is. And it was months later when I started GMing my first game ever with Dragonbane, and one of the players picked it up and said, "Oh, that's so cool! They've made the 20 into a demon and the 1 into a dragon." And I did not make the connection
Oh
that the
yeah.
numbers were actually incorporated into it.
I forgot that the number, yes, the numbers are morphed into it because I was gonna say, you're right, but I thought, wow, every success of mine was a failure.
Yeah,
What a sobering thought to have at any time in your life.
yeah.
See, this is what gives it away on the D20, but I noticed it on like the D4. There's also, I don't think, a like D10 that has the double digits because I don't think there's anything in there that's like a D100 roll.
That's true. Which I like. The
Yeah.
first thing I do with that double digit D10 is throw it away because I hate, I don't know what's wrong with me. I hate rolling and seeing a 20 and then a
Yeah.
3 because I it just doesn't make sense in my head. So as soon as I figured out that I could just use two different colored D10s, that became my D100 roll.
Oh, that's a really good idea. Okay, hold on a second. Hold on. I've seen Nicholas Brandt, Christian Granath, and Dan Algstrand. Oh, but lead illustrator is Johan Egerkrans, and I do think that that's
Uh-huh.
Vaesen.
Yeah. And just gorgeous art. I think
Oh,
it's And I think Free League do this with a lot of their products. We're going to go through what products we have and talk a bit about them. But sticking with Dragonbane for a second, there's something about the art that for me, just looking at a couple of pages of it, and you get quite a lot of it, or a good amount of it. Like it doesn't feel overblown, but it really sells this sense of the world
mm-hmm.
somehow. And it really immediately dragged me in and made me want to, and combined with the stunning map, really made me want to jump in and live in this world.
Yeah, it's like when they talk about implied setting.
Right.
It's
Yeah,
not
exactly.
just like the what is illustrated, it's how it's illustrated, because there is uh and I don't want to get too sort of, you know, postmodern appraisal of art, but there is like a vaporous sort of quality to it. It almost like each like paint brush stroke in there looks like these sort of mist or vapor that flies out of fingers right after a spell has
Right.
been cast or
Right.
something like that. And
What a
it's
great
just so beautiful. I mean, it just rises. It seems like every brush stroke is like an upward stroke. And it has like it I mean, it's a scary game, and in some ways it's
right.
darker than other comparable games, but it feels so like um, like fizzy lifting. What is that from Willy Wonka, the one where they have to fart to get oh, no, they
Yeah,
burped. I wish they'd farted. That would
yeah. Would have been a much bigger hit.
yeah.
No, but that's what I was gonna say as well, because it straddles this incredible line of looking really colorful and saturated
Mm,
and inviting, but also sort of being matte, and it does not at all feel wrong when things are scary and deadly in there, even
yeah.
though the art is so inviting, and I think that's an
Yeah.
incredible line to straddle there that they do.
It's that like, and I don't know if children's books are like this now. I saw a children's book the other day, and it was, like, horrifying. Uh, it was like, in a doctor's office, it was like, "How do different animals kiss?" And on the front page, it was like, "Sloths kiss slowly," and I was like, "What? Who is the target audience for this?" Um, but back in my day, the children's books had a gorgeous and menacing quality to them at
Yeah.
times. There was something about it.
Like the traditional fairy tales, you know?
Mhm. Yeah, that's like people forget that fairy tales were basically telling kids, like, "Don't leave the milk out or else, somebody will
Yeah.
take you in the night."
Right.
That's
Yeah.
basically what they all came down to.
Yeah, I'm really sad we lost that. I could really do with having that kind of a
Yeah.
stick for
That's
years ago.
that's slightly outside, like, the gentle parenting paradigm, I'm guessing, yeah.
Mm. So have you been okay, so just moving on from Dragonbane a bit, because
Mhm.
and we're not gonna talk about the mechanics and stuff of these games as much, I don't think. Otherwise, we will get too far in the weeds. But
Mhm.
the other really attractive thing about Dragonbane, especially as a starter set, is it just is, as you have said in your videos before, as a starter set box should be, or
Mm.
as any sort of box should be, it has goodies in it. It has actual treasures in it, but everything in there feels considered. It feels worthwhile, practical, and there's not just fluff. You know.
Yeah. There it's so that it and I am, quick to be corrected whenever I call it a starter set because it is technically a core set,
Core set.
but the reason it's called a starter set for in my mind is because it's in the US $50,
Hmm.
and any other so you get a starter book or a starter box for a lot of other things, and it's like they'll try to usually put a price point between 30 and $50 or maybe 30
Yeah.
and 40, but it's incomplete. You
Right.
get like the laminated brochures, and it has completely spoiled me as far as a first box for anything,
Mm.
including Free League. Like some when I'll get a Free League box set, I'll be like, "Where?" I mean, I had this whole thing with Forbidden Lands where I was like, "Where are my dice? Where
Yeah.
where are the where?" Because here's the actual thing of a starter set. It cannot be all flat.
Hmm.
There must be some piece of it that is three-dimensional because you're right, I need goodies. I want
To
treats.
justify the box, right?
Yeah, it should be like little like prizes that you find. And the Dragonbane core set was so fun to open.
Yeah.
It was so fun, and it had all of these different pieces to it where you keep picking something up and going, "Whoa, whoa, this is awesome." This map, and it had the gorgeous big map that you want to put up on your wall, and it had the dice, and it had the two separate books, which were like, they've since made the hardcover rule book, but those were great. I mean,
They're
those
stunning.
worked.
I love them, and I still use them all the time. And
Mhm.
at the table now in a real group, it's just great to have an extra book.
Yep.
I can hand the the core set rule book to the players, and I have the hardcover one. Just really fantastic.
Yeah. I think picking up those dice, it was like someone picking up, I don't know, like a baseball, or just like remembering their childhood. I was like, oh yeah, this was like what started it all.
Yeah,
And then I said, look how I've gone corporate now. I forgot to check, but I think 6 million followers, and I'm making just millions and millions of
yeah.
dollars a day. And
It's easy to
so
forget where
yeah,
you come
and
from.
I've been reading manifestation books. Um, and it's just kind of this thing where I'm just like, maybe I should go back to it because, I think I'm gonna do like a little playthrough episode, or maybe a revisit of it,
Do
because
it.
I do want to play it. I'd love to play it as part of a group.
Yeah, it's great as a group. I've had a similar revisiting. Dragonbane was the very first uh, pull off my shelf and play episode I tried for the show before I knew I was going to do all this other stuff. And I went back and listened to it. It was very, very sweet to hear my naive self
Yeah.
starting to do all this stuff. And I got excited and actually pulled it up. And you are now on my computer sitting on top of the beautiful map and balancing on the dice. And I'm really
Oh,
excited to
that's
get that
great.
back to the table. So you should too.
Well, I think so, and also I am a bit, I do think about a lot. I talk about removing the internal critic, on in a lot of my videos, and it is an active process for me because the critic does come out in many, many different ways. And one of the ways that the critic comes out is like the rules critic, and I would say that having exposed myself to so many different rule systems and having to just like, I'll want to make a video on something. I can't just open it and start talking about it.
Yeah.
And so I have to look at it, and I have to install some of it into my head. And now I remember playing Dragonbane, and it was, I think, the third episode that I ever did. It was the third playthrough. And somebody wrote a comment of like, I'm disappointed in you. You should have read the rules more closely. And I remember being like, I tried my best. Like, what do you want from me? Like, who cares? And now I'm like, man, I would love to go back to that where you just kind of, because now I'll get frustrated of like, well, how do you do this? Well, how do you do this? I mean, Pendragon, it's killing me with this. It's eating me
Yeah.
alive, and I just need to go back to when I was like, oh, I'll just try my best.
Well, see, my solution is I just put that up front as part of the core conceit of the show, which is I don't know the rules, I'm just getting it played. But the medium I'm using makes it much easier for me to just do big edits and, that kind of thing.
Yeah. I mean, I've thought about that, which is like doing a playthrough by myself, recording it, and then doing a voiceover later. And then I realized that if I do that for myself, it will, I will only sound like Bob Ross. I'll be like, and now you can see me put the dice in my hand. And, very
Well,
nice.
you've just nailed the secret sauce. I think that's the only thing your channel's been missing.
Well, I know you don't want to get too much in the weeds, but I do think there is a little bit of rules thing to talk about with Free League,
Mm.
which is something that is very important to me, which is the year zero system. And we don't have to talk about the rules per se, but
Well, but let me get there
okay,
first.
okay, okay. I don't want to jump the gun, but I want to make sure
Well, let's make
that
sure.
if you don't talk about the year zero system, I will walk.
That is next on my
I
non-existent
will
list
walk.
of of things to talk about. You go and do the jackhammering yourself to work the anger out. So the next thing I wanted to not push back per se,
Mm,
but by means of introducing Forbidden Lands,
mm,
I know you got a bit shirty about the core set box
mm.
for Forbidden Lands for exactly the reason that we just discussed. Everything is flat in there.
Yeah.
And while I do agree it would have been nice to have some dice, I don't know why they couldn't have done standees either. Although I guess there's no art. That's the difference. There's not the full color art in the Forbidden Lands books. But I must say, I was really pleased getting that because I kind of don't want any more boxes on my shelf. I have 3 boxes, and I don't really want any more. And when I got the Forbidden Lands set and I realized actually these are two high quality hardcover books and a map and some stickers, and I can throw the box straight away and get them on the shelf. And I do appreciate that some dice would have been nice. I'm not going to buy the dice because it's too expensive, even though I always buy the dice. But in this case, I'm quite happy with just using normal dice. But I do see because it's also $50, right? And it's two hardcover books, whereas Dragonbane is $50 and it's two softcover books. Like I can see the motivation there. I'm sure they're not making as much money on the Forbidden Lands starter set, and therefore they need to push that over to the dice, which are outrageously expensive.
Well, I want to clarify my position because
Okay,
I'm a
you
little
had time to think about it.
a little older, got a little more wisdom now, and I just want to say, like, you couldn't be more wrong. All right, now let me
Okay.
tell you why. All right, so first of all, the box is a different shape, right? It's a different shape. It's a shoebox, and I know they had some kind of thing with a shoe company, but the books, I they are filled. The leather bound cover is something that I would have been excited about if I was an explorer in 1804, because I have all of these beautiful Technicolor dream coated books here, and then I've got these tomes from Forbidden Lands that look like they're the 1981 Encyclopedia Britannica box set books. I
Mm-hmm.
needed some dice.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care if they were black and white standees. I don't care if there was one standee that was just the narrator. That's all you get. I needed something there. Let me look at these
But
right
then
now.
with your face.
I have grown even more bitter in time about that.
Interesting. I'm not sure I agree about the art. I quite like the toned down thing, except for one point, which is when I got the Ravens Purge campaign. That is proper color, really nice art, beautiful feeling book. It has like that same finish that the one ring book has, which is just gorgeous. And then it annoyed me. I thought either stick with the theme or at least have the options. Have like the premium edition, which is the leather one,
No,
and then the extra ones. But
I like the art. Like I like the art. I just don't like the bind. I don't like the book cover. I don't like the
yeah,
fact that it looks like an encyclopedia from the outside. It's inconsistent. And you're right. That should be a special edition. And for me, with a box set, the point of it is you should have everything in here that you need to play. And to not have the dice and to spend the money on, so you're going to some Arthur Krunkel's book binding emporium in Belgium to get this done. It's like, just look what the Dragonbane one. There's just paper covers, and now I get dice, I get standees, I get a whole dream.
okay.
You know what? I'm gonna walk. That's it. I'm walking. I won't be pushed around. I'll
Okay.
stay. I'll stay.
I concur to your point. Well, no, wait, not concur. What do I mean? I
You'll
mean you're
concede.
allowed to have. Yeah, I'll concede. You're allowed to have your incorrect opinion. Do you have the Raven's Purge book?
No, I don't. I don't have that. I do have the cards. Uh,
Have you seen it?
yes.
Because this is actually lovely,
Wait a
and I
minute.
love.
Open it up though. Let me like. Is there? Okay, so the art's the
It's the
same.
same inside. It's exactly the same inside, but it is this beautiful, almost linen feeling, papery cover, a la the One Ring, and it has nice art.
There.
So I do agree. They should have both.
Well, do you know? The all of them are like that. I think the one that's like the wintry one. I forgot what that's called. The
Bitter reach.
Bitter Reach. Yeah.
But moving on to the system, this was my very first year zero multiple six-sided dice pool dice system. And the reason I had Forbidden Lands in my cart for about a year before purchasing it is because I had no interest in D6s or rolling a dice pool. What's your... tell me where you're coming from.
All right. Well, I will say Forbidden Lands, I think, is a tough starting point. It's because they have the step dice system. And I think until you get the year zero system down, the step dice system, I mean, it's the same thing for parents, right? You want to get like have some time with your regular parents, then they get divorced and you have step parents.
Tell us, what do you mean by the? What are you referring to with the step
All right,
dice?
so the step dice, and in fact, I have my Free League dice box here. This thing is hilarious because it's like if somebody broke into my home, they would look for a jewelry box, but little do they know that
Mhm.
this here is worth
Nice one.
$26,000 worth of dice.
Can you give that a shake at the
Yeah.
microphone there? Mhm, mhm.
So the
That's a lot of dice.
in a standard so Mutant Year Zero, right, which is like the OG, you're gonna have the D6 dice across the board, and thank you to, I believe it was the other David from Australia that sent me some original Mutant Year Zero dice, like the
Mm.
really awesome first run ones. But the dice, you usually have like a gear die. I don't know if I'm showing that. A gear die, a skill die, and a core die. And this will vary from game to game. Some games are a little bit more simple. I know that the electric stage just has, I think, skill and attribute or base dice. But whatever it is, or maybe just base and gear. I don't know. The dice pool is constructed of d6s, and then a few of the games, Forbidden Lands, uh, as well as Twilight 2000,
Mhm.
they have the step dice system, and the step dice system is it's functionally the same. You have the same goals as you do with the d6 dice. You want to roll a 6 or higher, which you can't do on a d6, right? But let's just assume that the roll is 6 or higher. But as you get better things, like better gear stuff, you can start to add dice that are higher
Yeah.
than a d6, and that will increase your chances that you'll hit something over a 6.
Yeah. Now that bit I find really cool, especially because I have played it now since doing that. And finding like an artifact weapon, some cool weapon that
Yeah.
comes with a bigger dice when you've only been using D6s the whole time, that does feel rad.
Yeah. Yeah, it feels like you're like all powerful.
Mm.
Like
And then I rolled immediately a 1 on it.
right. You feel like you're all powerful. You finally stand up to your stepdad, Eric, and you're like, "I don't have to listen to you, Eric. I have an artifact dice." And then you roll 3 ones.
Yeah. And Eric just laughs in your
Grounded
face.
again.
Yeah.
I mean, just for example. But so the question being like, what do I what's my love for the Year Zero system?
Yes.
It's the dice pool. It's what dreams are made of. I mean, it is like the best dopamine rush. If you were to think about a slow motion scene in a movie, it'll be when that person kisses the dice and throws them across the craps table, and the dice is tumbling, and then finally, depending on what kind of movie it is, it lands either big win, big loss. And I feel like every single time you play, you create a dice pool, you have that feeling of this dice splash. And on top of that, the more creative and ingenuitive, or is it just ingenious? I don't know. You are, the more you're able to add to the dice pool. So the more that you're able to figure out, like, oh yeah, actually this skill would apply because of this, and I can actually use this device with this roll. I think that's great.
Mhm.
Suddenly you feel proud of yourself for being resourceful, and knowing that
Okay.
your resourcefulness also played into your odds here, and it's not totally randomized.
Yeah. Now you are slowly selling me, because initially I just thought that you're literally just describing dice. You roll any dice and wait to see what the number comes up. But you're talking about as well that, I mean, I get the big handful of dice, right?
Yeah.
That's cool. But you're talking about the experience of, I really need this, and looking around, what can I do to improve my chances? What can I do?
Right, but
I get
yeah,
that.
even bigger than that though is the fact that it's a Year Zero system. You don't add, for the most part. You don't add anything.
Mhm.
And so in other
Yeah.
games, you could throw a big dice pool and you go, "Did I at least get 23? I don't know, let me add them up." in year 0, you're just looking for a 6, which is also
Mm.
why I'm almost always willing to be the person who buys the overpriced dice set, or actually perfectly priced. Free League is sending me 2 books, sample review copies, perfectly priced
Okay.
dice.
Perfectly priced dice.
They're on their way. They are I'm always willing to, because there is also usually some sort of symbol that shows up when you win. You don't have to add, so you immediately know whether you are ecstatic or heartbroken.
Mm. Now that I do agree with. I do like, and I believe you may have even mentioned it before on one of your handful of videos that you've made.
Mhm.
I do like that space between rolling and then that little bit of brain assessment to see, did I do it? And that's more fun when it's just visual and doesn't have the maths in it.
Mhm.
And that's even easier when you actually have a symbol on it rather than just a 6. So I do like that idea for the custom dice. But I have an idea which I want to run past you. Have you played much Forbidden Lands solo?
Oh, yeah, yeah. I mean, I've definitely played, Dragonbane solo more, but I've played
Hmm.
Forbidden Lands solo. In fact, we have, like, a little bit of an experiment going in the members Discord that uh, I think we're very much discovering some things, where we're kind of doing a cooperative solo Forbidden Lands where there's, like, a shared stronghold,
Mm.
and, yeah, I played that was a game that actually I played solo after I made the videos for quite a bit longer than I was actually making videos for it, and this happens sometimes where I'll feel quite greedy about my solo play, and I'll be like, "Well, I don't really wanna make a video on this because I just want this." It feels like I'm spoiling it. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Or that it feels like I'm co-opting my joy for monetary gain. And, like, sometimes I don't wanna do that. Sometimes I don't wanna give it away. I just want to enjoy it for what it is and not have to make the, uh, thousands and thousands of pennies that I get from advertising for it.
Sure, but I mean, it's a headspace thing as well, right? Like when you are on camera
Yeah,
or on mic, you are inherently performing to some degree, and there's
yeah.
a different experience when you're just playing in silence.
Yeah, it is, and I hate slash I'm terrible at editing, and so there is a piece to it as well that I think, I'm not certain how many, channels, like, do a lot of editing, but I very rarely do it because I hate doing it,
Mm.
and so it's really like a one camera shot of a playthrough, and you're dealing with this thing where it's like, you people appreciate it because it's real and it's live and it's showing, like, what it looks like to play, which is always something I've wanted to convey. But at the same time, actually playing involves a lot of periods of sitting there being like, "Huh, hmm,
Mm.
oh, okay, I see. Wait a minute, didn't it say? Oh, yeah."
Mm.
And really, like, you can only have so much of that, and I've gotten better at, like, pausing my videos to do that, to not drag people through that, but it's hard to even know sometimes when you're about to do that,
Yeah,
and when
yeah.
it's just something
Well,
you can resolve pretty quickly.
yeah. None of which are problems that I face happily because I don't do video, which is nice.
That's true,
I
maybe I should stop.
I I did after playing for a bit. So I got in. I've done about I think 7 sessions on mic of Forbidden
Oh,
Lands.
cool.
Only the first couple are released so far, and I did really start to get into the system. I do have a little. I s- the failures hurt me more
Mm,
for some reason with the dice rolls, and I think it's because I have no concept of what the probability is really.
mhm,
Like no inherent feeling for what the probability is. And I know we're all terrible at actually understanding what probability is,
right.
but I just like I pick up a bunch of dice. I'm like, that's 6 dice. That feels like a lot. And then there's no success, and I feel the disappointment felt heavier to me than
Yeah.
just failing a D20 roll somehow, you know?
This is I'm not sure, like, how saturated this concept is in tabletop RPG, but in miniature wargaming, there's very much this concept of, like, feels bad.
Mhm.
Like, these certain sorts of mechanics in games that they strive to remove for this, like, these moments that through no fault of their own, through sheer, like, statistics probability, uh, there's certain moments that feel really bad, and I think what ties together most bad feeling moments in wargaming are when you feel like, what's the Linkin Park song? I tried so hard,
Yeah.
and whatever, but
Not
in the
so
end, it
far.
doesn't really
Doesn't
matter
even
where
matter.
it's, and
Right.
I think that is the one. Well, there's a few downsides of the year zero system. I think scaling is an issue if you're somebody who is cares about that a lot, and I know that there's some people who are. I'm not trivializing that. I don't think about it as much, but the other thing is the dark side of this, which is you could construct a 10d6 dice pool and you fail, and you're like,
Yeah.
and when that happens, it is a little bit of difficult to, like, the what is it, suspension of disbelief, where you're like, okay, hang on a second, I was trying to open a bottle, and I
Yeah.
used like the mythic sword of, the Hammer of Dawn, and I also have
Cut my
bottle
arm off.
opening maxed out skills, and I just failed.
Yeah.
That doesn't make sense. In which case, it's like, should I have been rolling anyways?
This is a good point. However, I think part of that is the unintuitive probability of things. Because I feel if you're playing Dragonbane with a single d20 and you have a strength skill of 18, so you need to roll 18 or under
Mm,
to do it, you can clearly see what your chances are, and you feel pretty confident. But then I feel like you roll and you get the 19 or the 20, and it's funny almost. Like you're like, oh my god, I only had such a little chance and I did it.
mm.
But when you don't understand that probability as inherently and you roll, you sort of look at it and like you are up high because you're rolling this big handful, and then you look at it and you're like, I can't believe it. There's not I feel like
Yeah,
it's
you count them again. You're like, wait,
you count them again.
did I see the wrong? Or so do I
And
have covered? Yeah.
I have a question for you. The reason I asked if you'd played is I did decide then I probably would get the real dice because of that the graphic, like the sword, cross swords on it or
Yes.
whatever for the success. But then I thought, and I don't know if anyone else has had this idea, but I'm always trying to figure out easy ways to balance things for solo play, like with as little thinking as possible.
Mm-hmm.
And then I thought, just for combat, maybe, what if I made successes fives and sixes to give myself a bit more of that damage buffer
Great.
and a bit more of that probability buffer to do? And I thought that's something I might try if I'm finding it's too hard. But I wouldn't like to try that if I have the fancy dice that have the thing on the
Oh, I
six.
see
So
what you're
this
saying, because
this
then
is
then
where
you
I'm
would
at
be
now.
reminded that you're like deviating. Yeah, I
Right,
could I
exactly.
could convince myself that that was the rule, to the point that if I played in group play, I would have been like, "Read them and weep, boys," and they'd be like, "You rolled all
Yeah.
fives," and I was like,
Yeah.
"Yeah, success five, high five. That's what I call it.
High five.
It's in the
Yeah, yeah.
rules."
Yeah, yeah. It sounds like it should be.
Yeah.
So moving away from Forbidden Lands for a second,
Hmm.
my newest Free League purchase. Now, yeah, we'll talk about this. My newest Free League purchase is the One Ring,
Okay.
and I bought it together with Moria,
Yeah.
and it looks awesome.
Yeah. So, man, I've been I can't say that I've been thinking about it nonstop. I mean, it is like, I had to do my taxes and stuff, so there's other things, but uh I can't I'm really conflicted about my play session with Moria.
Mm,
Um
do tell.
well, it was really good. In some respects it was almost perfect. It was almost like the perfect solo setting, and such an awesome solo adaptation, and I love how much care they put into considering the solo experience, because it is really, I mean, Free League is one of our best solo allies. We have to realize that.
They
I
are.
know there are
Yeah.
critics of different game systems and stuff, but um Free League is really the forerunner in terms of putting careful consideration of solo rules in their core games, and they're getting
Yeah.
better and better and better at this, and this is very, very good thing for us, but
It feels like they care about
it
us.
does.
I mean, I think it's the only publisher that has an actual section on the website that says these are the games of ours that you can play solo.
Right. Yeah, I mean, yeah, so I think that, like, major publishers will sometimes do a solo thing, but it shows that they don't really get it. They'll say like, "Oh, you could feel free to play solo. Friends aren't around." Well, you know what? Just play like you normally would, and then when you got to play as anybody else, to have take some some peyote or something, and then forget who you are, and then walk to the other side of the table. And it just, I mean, what we see with Moria is a developed novel solo approach. It's novel,
Mm.
and I know that this is the Sean Tom. I mean, at this point, it's like Sean Tompkin is the solo free league. Him and his son, I think.
Mhm.
And it is just such a great choice because they're able to innovate and bring some new things to it. And I thought that it was such a cool system and comprehensive. I did feel while I was playing that uh it felt a little cognitively intensive. Like I almost
Mhm.
felt like I was managing a little bit too much in my head while I was playing it. And that could be just be me, but it felt like if I have to okay, so let's break down like a an action in any role-playing game to its very elemental part. It even beyond like dice rolling stats. We have something where it's like imagine, now do randomize, now realize what implication, now note, and then go back to imagine
Mhm.
or go back to imagine's helper, the oracle, right? And I think I was going too often to stat and note and not enough to imagine because I think it
Mhm.
was just asking me very often to like manage a value, and that was really tough in terms of immersing myself. Now, that is one that I only played once off camera to just do a prep session. Well, maybe I played it more than that. I can't tell anymore because I come back to a different session. But yeah, it was tough, and I can't figure it out. I can't figure out whether I like it or not. But I do know there's something to the fact that I go, well, maybe I should play it again, and then I go, I
Yeah.
don't know if I have it in me to do that.
Mhm. Yeah.
Have you
That's
tried
a
it
big
yet?
thing. I mean, I haven't. It's on the list. The list is not short, but I will do it, and that doesn't turn me off, actually.
Mm-mm.
I think what that does, I think, is excite me about, um, different angles that different games take and different brain spaces that different games put you in. Because I'm the kind of person, I think we talked about it on the show before. I always have 5 books on the go, and I jump into the one that I feel like I'm in the mental headspace for at the time. And I want to do the same with games. Sometimes I want that more narrative first thing, and then something like Starforged is really good for that,
Mhm.
because if you try to go mechanics first on Starforged, you fall apart.
Yeah.
Or sometimes I want to go for more the mechanic first and not worry so much about the story. For that, maybe something like in the OSR has been really good for that.
Yeah.
But what I don't have is something that is managementy crunchy outside of 2D6 Realm, which
Yeah.
is cool. I really like it, but it's borderline, like it's borderline too crunchy in the sense that it's not too crunchy unless you haven't played it for a while and you come back to it and then you realize you have to relearn everything and flick everything again.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, that's like when you're talking about like the odds and calculating those and seeing, knowing what the odds are for everything, and there are these tables for, the free league odds, but with step dice that really changes it so much. But
Mm.
I
Yep.
don't think about that at all. And that just kind of is an exemplar of a truth we hold self-evident, is that it's different strokes for different folks, right? Like people are
Mm.
going to get different things out of a game. And also at different times I want something different. Recently, I have wanted to play more when you were talking about like just sitting down and crunching it out. I have been playing a lot of Max Moon games recently, like 12 Years and Basilisk, which are games that are, the role play is there only if you want it. You
Yeah.
could just kind of play through it. I think 2D6 Realm is sort of like that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Maybe Realm is like a little bit more immersive just because you're the big boss. But yeah, I think that I have this dream of like I want to pick up just the right game when I feel like solo playing, pull it off the shelf and immediately play it.
Yeah.
And it does it. That's like the sublime object of ideology. It
Mm.
only exists before it the Coca-Cola only exists right before you sip it, which is a
Right.
preview of the current video I'm working on right now, is using
And then it
some
decides
Zizek here, but yeah.
what state it's in when sipped.
Yeah, it evaporates. It becomes something less the minute you sip it, and so you're always disappointed in it, uh, which is why it is better to just come as you are. Just take the game as it is, and why Geek Gamers says, preparation is play. That's not just to be like a consolation prize for people that can't get to the game of like, yeah, you tried your best. That's play.
Yeah.
It's because if you don't look at it as play, then you may not sit down and play. If that's your
Mm.
definition of it, you might not get to play in the
Yeah.
2 hours that you have or whatever. And so you need to look at all of it as play.
Totally. So yeah, One Ring is one of the next ones off my shelf. I'm really, really keen to try it. Also on my shelf, which has been here quite a long time, and I don't have any firm plans to play it, but I will eventually. Especially now with this. I don't know if you caught my recent episode with Tana Pigeon about playing published adventures, about a new
Yeah.
technique she has.
Yeah, no, that's something that we've been sort of working on at Man Alone Industries,
Mm,
is like this idea of published adventures. And so that was very interesting. Yep.
cool. And that interview, that discussion, and her technique has really freed me and opened me up to playing some of these games that I have a bunch of published adventures for. In fact, that's what I'm doing with my current session of Dragonbane as well.
What are you doing?
Uh,
The sunken tower or whatever?
no, it's the Tower of Sighs, it's called.
One
Just
of the
because that
towers.
happened to be nearby where my characters were in the last episode. But I have on the shelf here Coriolis, the original, like the Third Horizon, which I know you are quite familiar with.
Yeah.
And I asked you for advice because I happen to have parts 1 and 2
Mm-hmm.
of the campaign,
Mm-hmm.
and at the point of it going out of print, I realized it was impossible to get part 3. And not having played it, I asked your advice, and you said, "What should I do? Do I need to track this down and pay too much money for it?" And you said, "No, not really. Don't be silly."
No, get the PDF.
I tracked it down,
Oh.
uh, but actually, to be fair, it was using your Noble Knight thing that you had going on when they had their sale.
Very good. I was thinking about
And
that. I just got $2.37 the other day.
yeah, yeah. And I'm actually really glad I did. I feel better that it's complete, and they had the cards as well.
Oh, come on, come
Yeah,
on. Give me half. Let me see them.
yeah.
I get
And they're really cool. They're
you
kind of old
bastard.
school feeling, and they actually look like they would be quite useful in solo play because the kinds of things, they're not your usual cards necessarily,
Yeah, they're
but
the
they have
icons, right?
yeah, and they have like the different roles in the ship, which would be cool. They have the like yeah, just cool stuff. I'm getting closer to playing it, but I know absolutely. Actually, no, that's not true. I do know a little bit about it because I listened to the Sweden Rolls podcast.
Mm-hmm.
If you've come across that one, they're really great, and they've been doing long running campaigns of Coriolis, and I really like the setting. Like I like
I
the
love it.
without having looked much through the books, other than a little bit of art and hearing their show of it, I really like that slightly different sci-fi.
Yep.
It's a little June-y almost, but not too June.
No, it's like it actually has rooted in these um Middle Eastern cultural archetypes that are meaningful and not just like sand. I think Frank
Yeah,
Herbert a
yeah.
lot was like, it's like the West, but it's sand.
But
Like,
desert.
and I think with Coriolis there is this feeling of like whoever wrote this has tapped into the Gestalt uh like core foundational meanings of that culture and has distilled them into something completely new.
Mm.
It's not just, like a reflection of it, and it felt so exciting, and I have so much pain about Coriolis that I mean, I'm over speaking a little bit, but I am no, actually I'm not, because I think I mentioned this in the last time we talked, is I just had like a group breakup where I
Yeah,
was
that's
GMing
right.
and it kind of ended, and I felt like, wow, I just did all that stuff, and now everybody's like, yeah, it just doesn't work for my schedule. And then the new Coriolis just really feeling worried that the game that I had like spent so long investing myself in has moved to another place now that doesn't feel the same as the Coriolis Third Horizon.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, that's the nice thing about books rather than computers is that if they're on your shelf, they remain so.
Yeah. No, that's true. I mean, it's true. It's just it's a death by a thousand paper cuts, I guess, of like spending uh my entire youth and adolescence reading Star Wars books that J.J. Abrams was then like, these didn't happen.
Yeah.
And you're like, "I'm sorry? That's, what? I spent 5,700 hours in there. That didn't happen? Nope, it's a legend." What the hell does that
Yeah.
mean? It's legendary. It's like, what does that mean? What the hell?
Like someone talked about it around a campfire once. Yeah. Well, I am excited to try it, at least for the
It's
just to
awesome.
see how it goes. And I'm really feeling pretty confident these days to play basically anything solo and just fudge it as I go. And that's a really freeing feeling.
Was it the conversation with Tana that did that?
I think mostly just my experience of having now pulled so many games off the shelf and
Mm,
just played. Um, the conversation with Tana was really about I can access all of these published adventure materials that I have in ways that are meaningful, useful, interesting, but don't necessarily ruin the published adventure,
right.
like quote ruin the published adventure for me if I were to ever run it in the future, or someone would have run it for me or something like that. Like I still wouldn't have a complete picture of what that adventure is doing it with Tana's method,
Yeah.
and so that is exciting.
Yeah, I mean, I talk a lot about, like, finding your yummies, like, which I think I'm gonna rebrand that as finding the
Mm,
jubs. You gotta
that's
find the
better.
jubs in every adventure of, like, what are the things that actually make me the, inner child in me really excited?
Mm,
And as long as you're able to maintain those in that published adventure, it really doesn't matter how you get there, because very rarely do like people get hung up on this, including myself, this thing of like, well, I don't want to reveal something that as a player I wouldn't know about. And it's like,
mm,
but you're not just the player, you're also the GM. That's the difference here. And so when you first read something and you go, oh no, I spoiled that, I wanted to find out about that, it's like, you just did.
yeah.
That was your discovery as the GM.
I know that to be intellectually true,
Yeah.
but it still feels different somehow. I don't know. I think it's because when you see something that you think, oh, that would have been cool if it was a surprise to my player or my character. But I don't know.
Yeah.
There's no perfect way.
There isn't, and honestly, I think because of that, we should just give up, and I think that,
Burn them all.
yeah, we're gonna have a book burning. That'd
Yeah,
be
yeah.
interesting.
Forbidden Lands book covers are on top.
Yeah, that's, like the people who burned, like, the Warhammer: The Old World when there was the end times, they just lit up all these little elf creatures. You're like, "What are you doing?"
The final Free League book I believe in my collection, which I have not touched, is Morkborg.
Ah, yes. So, yeah, that's interesting.
Have you played Morkborg?
Yes. So I have a whole diatribe on that, and I know in the interest of time, I'll save you from that. But I want to make 2025 challenge for everybody.
Yes.
Please stop making Morkborg adjacent like clones. Just like
Mhm.
find the courage to make it your own game. I would love more Stockholm Cartel products. I think Exalted Funeral has a good relationship. I know that They've now sort of made an imprint for certain third-party supplements that are like, this is part of our ecosystem. But I I don't I got Mork Solo. I'm excited to see that because that will be I'm expecting there to be some different things in that.
Now, hang on. This is different to the Solitary Defilement. This is the new,
Yeah,
the one that's currently
this
on
one is
Kickstarter,
kickstarted. Yep.
or just recently finished.
Uh
Solo Borg.
Solo Borg, yep.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I backed that too.
Solitary Defilement is great, and Solitary Defilement is really like using Ironsworn Starforge sort of strong hit, weak hit. Well, I guess that's powered by the Apocalypse technically.
Mm,
And yeah, I can't take it anymore. It's like
mhm.
because and here's why I can't take it. It's not because I'm like uh old man yells at cloud. It's like these are so many of them are beautiful, and they represent so much of talent, but because it's sort of like a Xerox of a Xerox of a Xerox, it just feels like, why didn't you just make your own thing? Like, make your own
Yeah.
thing. Let's have new stuff.
Yep.
But I do think that it's kind of a safety blanket for some people because it's like I
Absolutely.
could just like I'll just rip out page 45 and be like, Morg Borg style. You don't need page 45, idiot, heavy metal. And it's like,
Yeah.
well, come on, man. I need page
Yeah.
45.
I mean, I've basically ignored all of the like third party Mork Borg stuff except for Pirate Borg, because I think that makes perfect sense
Pirate Borg
for that
is
sort of style.
it's an
And
official one for me. I mean,
yeah,
it's really
yeah,
evolved. Uh, yeah, I mean, you're seeing stuff now that I'm just like, I can't believe Borg is at the end of this. It's just kind of,
yeah,
like, there's like Mork Borg for selling Avon makeup and stuff, like Avon Borg, and then there's, how to do corporate takeover Borg, and you're like, oh, that's
yeah.
ironic, right? And then it's like a pretty good guide on doing corporate takeovers and layoffs. That's
Mm,
not real. Satire, satire.
yeah. I mean, the just back to Pirate Borg for a second. I'm excited to play it. I
Mm.
think it's a really good setting for it. It's just a critical fail for it not to have been Pirate Barg. I think that,
I'm not kidding. I think about that all the time, and I'm going, how did anyone let
how
this
did I miss
happen?
that? I know. I know. And it's not even that they're English as a second language speaker
Or
developed. It's an
how about
American.
Pirate Barge? Uh,
Yeah.
Pirate Bilge?
Anything.
Solitary Plunder is a good supplement for that for solo, and
Yeah, but
I think
you can't get the physical one. You have it, but no one else
there's no.
does.
I thought they, why? I think they're having a tough time with the print on demand. It is a tough process to get it like up to the specifications for it. I
Mm.
hope that they do because it's really nice.
Closing thoughts for this first topical discussion episode on Free League. And this is a hard one. What's your favorite Free League game?
Ooh. All right. Hmm. My lawyer is saying I don't have to answer that. Actually, I don't have to answer it. I'm gonna walk. Sorry,
Okay.
I'm
All
gonna
right.
throw the
Walking
table
away.
over. Yeah, I'm going to say. Um,
Or I mean,
no, I
you can
have
rephrase it as
it's
well.
it is very simple for me. It's just that it's hard because I love Dragonbane so much. Um, but without I love like truly Coriolis was one of the I was so obsessed with that setting, it rivaled almost my obsession to Warhammer 40K for a while, which is very hard because I am extremely obsessed with that setting. But without a doubt, it is Mutant Year Zero.
Newton Year Zero.
Yep.
Out of left field.
Yeah, it's the best, and it's such a great system, and it has such a great um like play loop with the stronghold mechanics that you get from the arc, and it it is it is a world that is very inhabited, like they've inhabited it with a lot of truths, but it's also completely wrecked, and so it still has that randomness whenever you want. It is I love the weapon systems in it. I love everything about it. I love the additions they've made. But yeah, I don't know. The last supplement they made, I think, was Ad Astra. I would love to see like a Mutant Year Zero second edition, or
Mm,
maybe not second. I think it's probably beyond that. You never know because Free League always has like the stuff that was in Swedish before, that nobody
sure.
knew about.
Yeah. Well, you heard it here first. Abandoning all of his previous beliefs.
Well,
Mutant Year
maybe.
Zero, the winner of Free League.
Listen,
I'm not going to answer it. So,
you're not going to answer it? How
well,
dare
I don't
you?
know. I think it's Dragonbane,
Mhm.
but probably not because it's the best, or maybe even will turn out to be my favorite. But it's the one that got me in there, and so I will always associate the brand and the name Free League with this fantastic little package.
Okay. Well, I'll do the ultimate question then here. What property should Free League buy and make a game out of? Now careful, because I think I've got it,
Mm-hmm.
and I think it fits the Year Zero system perfectly. And I'll say mine is Home Alone. Like you got the dice system, you got
Not
Marv, you got
RoboCop.
what's that?
Not RoboCop.
Somebody already has RoboCop. I would love for them to
Really?
do like a hostile takeover of the RoboCop property. That would be very ironic. Well, think
I
about it.
mean, setting traps in a house, kids on bike style sort of thing. I can actually see that.
Mhm.
One very terrible Christmas holidays, we didn't have a console at home, but on school holidays we were allowed to go and rent one from the video shop,
Mhm.
and there was never any games, so you just kind of had to get what was there. And my dad came home with the Sega or whatever and the Home Alone video
I
game,
had it.
which was so
It was
terrible.
so bad.
It was so terrible, and it was the one game for the entire school holiday period,
Ugh.
and we played it all the time.
You just had to like slide on your knees like through the whole hotels. Oh man.
It made no sense. There was no instructions, no any idea how or what you were doing. You just
Man, I miss it. I miss
yeah,
games that were just like we don't know. And honestly, there's no internet, so nobody could complain.
exactly. Nobody cares. And we're not gonna fix it because it's actually a physical thing without internet connection.
Right.
Thank you so much for joining me
Thank
today,
you.
Man Alone, on the Solo Role Players podcast. I know everyone knows where to find you, but
Yeah.
would you just, for decency's sake, tell them again?
Yeah, sure. On YouTube, you could find me on youtube.com/ and I'm looking it up right now because at A Man Is Alone. I don't
LG68.
have a Man Alone. I have A Man Is Alone as my YouTube. But yeah, in terms of Mutant Year Zero, you could also find some of my stuff on Drive-Thru RPG, and you might be seeing something for Mutant Year Zero sometime. As well as Cairn, some solo, maybe. I'll say no more. My lawyer's telling me I have to stop.
And not to downplay the fantastic Call to the Green Dragonbane solo
Yeah,
scenario or system that you did.
we do have a POD of that. I think the price is the price. I reduced the price for it, so it's 50 plus pages with Druidic Habit, John's World's Art. It's a great supplement.
With tariffs, only $6,000.
What's that?
With tariffs, only $6,000.
Yeah, sorry about that. Damn. Hopefully.
Now we're sitting pretty over here in Europe. It's great. Thank you again. Look
everyone.
forward to talking to you next time.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks for having me on.
Cheers. Thank you for joining us today on another little chat on the Solo Role Players podcast. I hope you like this new format. It's something I wanted to try where we can just pick a topic and talk to people about this hobby rather than just interviewing them. So do reach out and let me know what you think. One final announcement is that Man Alone, under some duress, has also agreed to come and join us in the Celebrity Lounge over on our Patreon Discord at patreon.com/SoloRolePlayers this Saturday, the 31st of May, where he's going to come and hang out for about 24 hours, where members there can just get to know the guest a little bit and ask questions and reach out to them and tag them. And at the end of the party, we'll kick him out again, back to where he belongs over on YouTube. So thank you again to Man Alone for joining me on today's topical chat. And thank you all for listening and being a part of this show's audience. We couldn't do it without you. Until next time on the SoloRolePlayers podcast, where we'll have another interview, another actual play, another topical discussion, or something else that I haven't even thought of yet. Until then,